The vast chamber of the Galactic Council echoed with laughter. Alien voices, sharp and cold, filled the air like broken glass. Creatures with wings, scales, and glowing eyes leaned back in their chairs, mocking the name of a race they believed long forgotten. The screens above them showed charts and records. On every display, the same conclusion appeared. Earth is nothing. Humanity is gone. For centuries, humans had been silent. Their colonies were abandoned. Their ships no longer crossed the stars. Their homeworld was believed to be ruined by wars and greed. To the Council, it was a story of failure, one told to young species as a warning. "Do you remember them?" sneered a reptilian admiral, his long tongue flicking out as if to taste the memory. "The humans, always so proud, always so loud. And yet where are they now?" "Dust," another voice, sharp and mocking, followed. "They thought themselves strong. They believed they could shape the galaxy. But in the end, they destroyed only themselves. A weak species doomed by their own violence." Laughter rose again, cruel and heavy. But not every voice in the chamber joined. In the shadows, a smaller figure remained silent. She was a scholar, old and weary, her face lined with age. Her species had lived long, and she had studied the history of many civilizations. She knew better than to laugh too loudly at ghosts, because ghosts sometimes returned. Rumors had already begun. Whispers carried by traders and smugglers. Strange signals heard in the deep void. Unmarked ships spotted in places once touched by human colonies. Every time the stories spread, the Council dismissed them. They claimed it was myth, confusion, or trickery, yet the whispers did not stop. One night, a mining vessel vanished. The crew's last message spoke of a shadow in the dark. Another time, a pirate fleet was found destroyed, their wrecks drifting near an uncharted system. Survivors spoke of ships with strange weapons, ships that fought with human precision. Still, the Council laughed. "They hide behind myths because they fear their own enemies," said one alien lord, his eyes glowing red. "There are no humans left. The galaxy is better without them." But far away beyond the sight of the Council, something moved. In the black silence of space, deep within a forgotten sector, an enormous structure pulsed with faint light. Long ago, humanity had fallen silent, but silence was not death. It was preparation. Within the shadows of ruined colonies and hidden stations, humans rebuilt. They studied, they planned, and they waited. Their voices no longer shouted across the stars. Their fleets no longer roamed openly. They let the galaxy believe they were gone. Let them laugh. Let them forget. Because one day the silence would end. The scholar in the Council chamber raised her hand, her voice quiet against the roar of laughter. "You mock them," she said slowly, "but do not forget what they once were. When united, they were dangerous. They fought with fire not only in their weapons, but in their hearts. If they still live, if they are watching, then the laughter of today will be the fear of tomorrow." The chamber hushed for only a second, then erupted into greater laughter. Her words were dismissed as the ramblings of one too old to see the truth, yet the silence between those laughs carried weight. Outside, beyond the walls of the Council's great station, the galaxy spun in cold indifference. Stars burned, planets turned, fleets patrolled. Life went on, blind to the storm that was rising. In hidden vaults, the humans had awakened old engines. Vast hangars opened, revealing ships that no one had seen in centuries. Their hulls were black and steel, marked with scars of past wars, but they glowed with new power. Inside them, human crews stood ready. Children who had grown up in silence now wore uniforms of war. Veterans who had hidden their faces now returned to command. The human fleet was not the same as before. It was harder, stronger, quieter, no longer shouting for recognition, no longer asking to be seen. This time they would not announce their arrival. They would let the galaxy mock them until the moment their ships lit up the stars. Back in the Council chamber, the laughter carried on. Toasts were made. The name of humanity became nothing but a joke passed around like cheap wine. But somewhere in the void, far from their reach, a signal pulsed. It was small at first, like the heartbeat of a sleeping giant. Then it grew louder, stronger, more persistent. One scout ship on the edge of the galaxy caught it. The pilot frowned as the ancient frequency filled his systems. He recognized the code, though it had not been heard in hundreds of years. It was human. His hands trembled. He sent a report, but the Council did not listen. They laughed again, saying, "A ghost cannot return." Yet even as they laughed, the darkness shifted. Shadows moved. Lights awoke. Engines roared. The scholar's voice echoed in memory. The laughter of today will be the fear of tomorrow. And in the farthest reaches of space, the first human warship prepared to step back into the galaxy. The countdown had begun. The void was silent, cold, and endless. Stars glimmered like scattered diamonds, but in the shadow of a dying sun something new appeared. At first it was only a ripple, an invisible distortion, the faint bending of light. Then with a thunder that could not be heard but could be felt, a human warship slid into real space. It was not like the ships the galaxy remembered. The old human fleets had been strong but crude, forged in desperation. This ship was different. Its hull was black, sharp, and shaped with deadly precision. Green lines of light pulsed across its body, marking the veins of a machine designed for war. It did not roar. It did not announce itself. It simply existed, silent and heavy, like a predator in the dark. In the distance, a fleet of alien warships drifted. They had been sent by the Council to investigate the strange signals whispered by traitors. Their commanders expected nothing but pirates or dying colonies. When the human ship appeared, their first reaction was not fear. It was laughter, that is all, sneered the alien captain, his scaled fingers tapping on the arm of his command chair. One ship? After centuries of silence, this is what dares to show itself? His crew laughed with him, voices echoing through the alien vessel. They prepared their weapons, confident in their numbers. Dozens of cruisers surrounded the lone warship. Inside the human vessel, silence reigned. Rows of men and women sat at their stations, their faces lit by green glow. They did not laugh. They did not boast. Their commander stood tall at the center, his voice calm and steady. "They see us," he said, "but they do not know us. Let them see." The alien ships fired the first volley. Beams of blue energy tore through the void, racing toward the human vessel. The impact lit up the darkness with fire. For a moment, the aliens cheered. Then the fire cleared. The human ship remained, untouched. Its shields glowed for a second, then faded, leaving the black hull unscarred. The alien captain froze. His laughter choked in his throat. "Impossible," he whispered. "Our cannons, they did nothing." The human commander gave no order to return fire. Instead, his fleet broadcast a signal. Not words, not threats, just an old frequency. The same one the galaxy had not heard in centuries. A human code pulsing like a heartbeat across the stars. Every alien ship received it. Every alien commander who heard it felt a chill. Some recognized it from ancient wars. Others did not understand. But all of them felt something they had not felt in generations. Fear. The alien fleet attacked again, desperate now. Torpedoes, plasma bursts, and ion storms rained down on the lone ship. Explosions lit up the void. When the smoke cleared, the human ship still stood. It did not fire. It did not move. It simply endured. Inside the alien command vessel, panic grew. "Why will it not break?" One shouted. Another hissed, "Why will it not fight back?" The human commander raised his hand. At last his voice cut through the silence. "Enough," he said. With a single command, the ship's weapons came alive. Green fire blazed across its hull. Cannons hidden beneath armored plating emerged like fangs. In an instant, beams of light shot forth, cutting through the void with precision. The first alien cruiser exploded, ripped apart in seconds. Then another. And another. The alien fleet scattered, their formation breaking as ships tried to flee. But the humans were faster. Each shot was cold, calculated. No wildfire, no wasted energy. Every weapon strike found its target. Alien vessels that had laughed moments ago now burned, their wreckage spinning into the dark. The alien captain screamed orders, but it was too late. His ship shuddered as human cannons locked on. A green beam pierced his bridge, silencing his voice forever. And then, silence returned. The lone human ship floated among the wreckage, its hull glowing faintly. Not a single scar marked its surface. It had faced an entire alien fleet and survived. But this was only the beginning. On worlds across the galaxy, signals spread. Reports carried by frightened survivors. Tales of a warship that could not be destroyed. Whispers of humanity returning. Many dismissed it again. Many laughed still, but some remembered. In hidden stations and quiet corners, others began to listen. They replayed the human code over and over, feeling the weight of its promise. Humanity had returned, and this was only the first spark. Far from the battle, in the blackness of deep space, more distortions began to appear. Shadows moved, engines awoke, and one by one more ships emerged. The first arrival was no accident. It was a message, a warning. The galaxy thought humanity was gone. The galaxy thought wrong. And soon, the stars themselves would tremble. The wreckage of alien cruisers still drifted in the void, glowing faintly against the backdrop of stars. Fires burned without air. Metal fragments spun endlessly, and broken signals echoed like dying screams. The lone human warship glided silently among the ruins, its black hull shining with eerie green light. In the alien outposts nearby, panic spread like wildfire. Every survivor told the same story. One ship, human-built, had destroyed an entire fleet. Many dismissed it as lies, exaggerations told by cowards, but others listened, and fear crept into their hearts. On the council's grand station, leaders argued. Some still laughed, claiming the reports were false. Others warned of danger. But no one could deny the signals recorded in the void. They carried the human frequency, a heartbeat pulsing across the stars. The scholar who had spoken before now whispered again. "You will not laugh much longer." Back in the silence of space, the human warship waited. Its engines were quiet, its weapons dim. Yet its presence alone was enough to send ripples of fear. The galaxy believed it was only one ghost returned. Only one remnant of a dead race. They were wrong. It began with a shadow, then 2, then 10. In the darkness behind the first warship, space itself seemed to tear. Ripples spread as if the void was opening its eyes. And then, one after another, ships emerged. First came the frigates, smaller but fast, shaped like blades that glowed with faint green light. Then came the cruisers, their hulls scarred but powerful, engines roaring as they locked into formation. After them, vast carriers appeared, their bodies stretching for miles, carrying entire fleets within. And then the dreadnoughts. Each one was a floating city of war. Their shadows blotted out the stars. Towers of steel rose from their backs. Cannons larger than mountains glowed with fire. They had slept for centuries, hidden in voids no one dared explore. Now they awoke, engines shaking the darkness. The galaxy watched in silence as the human armada revealed itself. Hundreds, then thousands of ships filled the sector, their green lights weaving into patterns across the black sky. It was not a single fleet. It was a storm. Alien commanders whispered in disbelief. This cannot be. They were gone. They were broken. But the proof was before them. Humanity had not vanished. Humanity had rebuilt. Inside the command dreadnought, the human admiral stood before his crew. His eyes were cold, his voice steady. "We are seen," he said. "Let them understand. We did not die. We endured. Now we return." Across the armada, the same words spread. Crews listened. Soldiers stood ready. Generations of silence, generations of hiding, had all led to this moment. In the alien colonies nearby, civilians ran to their windows, staring at the sky. At first they thought the stars were moving. Then they realized the truth. The stars were not moving. The human ships were blocking them out. Whispers filled the streets. "Humans," when they said. "The humans are back." Fear spread to the council. Their leaders demanded explanations. They sent envoys, signals, desperate calls for negotiation. But the human fleet gave no reply. It remained silent, its green glow pulsing like a heart in the dark. The scholar sat in her chamber, her face pale. She remembered the wars of old. She remembered the human spirit. She knew what this meant. The galaxy had mocked Earth. Now Earth would answer. Back in the void, the alien survivors tried to flee. Some ships jumped into hyperspace, carrying news of the armada. Others remained frozen, unable to move. The sight was too overwhelming. Then, as if the universe itself wished to deliver the message, the humans moved. Their fleet spread across the sector, aligning in perfect formation. The first warship, the one that had destroyed the alien fleet, took point. Behind it, rows upon rows of ships followed, stretching farther than sight could reach. The armada turned its cannons outward, not firing, only showing its power. Every alien who watched felt the same chill. This was not a return for conquest. This was not a simple fleet. This was a warning, a whisper carried across the channels, a message decoded by all. No words of threat, No demand of surrender. Only 5 simple words repeated in every tongue. We are here. Remember us. The council fell silent. No laughter remained. The galaxy, once mocking, now stared in fear. For the first time in centuries, they realized the truth. Humanity had never been gone. Humanity had been waiting, and now their armada shook the stars. The galaxy trembled. The human armada stretched across the void like a storm of steel and fire. Thousands of ships moved as one, their green lights burning against the blackness. To the council's fleets watching from afar, it was a sight beyond reason. An army born from silence, united after centuries of exile. But fear did not silence everyone. The council's war leaders gathered their forces, believing sheer numbers would crush the humans. Across the stars, fleets of every shape and size began to converge. Metallic leviathans from reptilian empires, swarms of insectoid hive ships, the proud war cruisers of winged species whose banners had never fallen. Together they formed an armada larger than any seen in living memory. Billions of lives aboard, millions of weapons aimed. They believed they could overwhelm humanity, drown it under fire and steel. The council's supreme commander stood on his bridge, voice booming with arrogance. Let this be the end of the myth. Today we burn the ghosts of Earth forever. The galaxy waited, and then the first shot was fired. A massive plasma beam tore across the void, brighter than a sun, striking the lead human frigate. The explosion was blinding, shaking the dark. Alien crews cheered. But when the fire cleared, the frigate remained. Its shields flared, but its hull held strong. The human fleet did not fire back. Not yet. The council's ships unleashed a storm. Beams of light, torpedoes, plasma waves, all converging on the human lines. Explosions lit up the galaxy. The void itself seemed to scream. For minutes it looked as if the humans would vanish under the fire. And then, the storm broke. The green light returned, brighter, stronger. Human ships emerged from the chaos, moving with terrifying precision. They did not scatter like prey. They advanced like predators. The admiral of the human dreadnought raised his hand. His voice was calm. Now. In one instant the armada answered. Every cannon awoke. Every torpedo tube opened. The silence of centuries turned into a roar of vengeance. Green fire streaked across the stars, cutting through alien hulls like paper. Council ships exploded in chains of flame, their debris scattering into the void. The humans did not waste fire. Every shot struck true. Cruisers fell in neat lines. Dreadnoughts were pierced by beams that tore through their hearts. Swarms of fighters were cut down before they could reach their targets. But it was not only weapons. It was the way the humans fought. They moved like one body. Formations shifted with perfect timing. When one ship faltered, 2 others shielded it. When the enemy pressed, the humans pulled back only to encircle. The aliens fought with numbers. The humans fought with unity, and the galaxy saw the difference. An insectoid hive fleet charged forward, their ships swarming like angry wasps. But the humans had planned for this. Their carriers opened, releasing drones of their own, smaller, faster, deadlier. The swarm turned against itself, shredded in minutes. A reptilian war cruiser, 3 times larger than the human dreadnought, roared into the fight, its cannons blazing. The humans let it come closer, closer until it was locked in their sights. Then with one command, a dozen beams struck it at once. The giant cracked apart, flames spilling into the dark. The council commander screamed orders, but panic spread. His fleets were breaking. The proud banners of his empire burned one by one. He shouted at his officers, "Hold the line. They cannot fight us all." But even as he spoke, another fleet of humans emerged from hyperspace. Then another, and another. The storm kept growing. The void was filled with human ships, each one a blade of vengeance. The battle raged for hours. But the outcome was clear long before it ended. Where the council had relied on arrogance, humans relied on endurance. Where the council scattered, humans united. Where the council mocked, humans remembered. One by one, alien flagships fell. Their wreckage drifted silently into the black, monuments to their pride. On the human flagship, the admiral stood tall, his eyes cold. "This is not conquest," he said. "This is justice," his crew answered with silence. They did not need words. They knew why they fought. Not to enslave, not to dominate, but to prove that humanity still lived and would never again be forgotten. The final blow came when the Council's Supreme Commander's flagship shook under human fire. His voice, once so proud, broke into fear. We underestimated them, he whispered, just before the dreadnought's cannons silenced him forever. When it was over, the stars were quiet again. Debris floated endlessly. Fires flickered in the void. The largest fleet the galaxy had ever seen had been shattered, and the only sound that remained was the steady pulse of human signals, echoing across the stars. The galaxy, once filled with laughter, was now filled with silence. Humanity had spoken not with words, but with fire, and every living being who saw that battle knew the truth. The galaxy would never forget Earth again. The battle was over. The void was filled with wreckage, broken ships drifting without power, burning fragments spinning like sparks in endless darkness. Where once the Council's fleet had stood, there was only silence. Stars glowed faintly beyond the smoke, shining on a battlefield that had changed the galaxy forever. The human armada floated in formation, their green lights steady and unshaken. Thousands of ships stood untouched in the aftermath, their engines humming softly, their cannons cooling from the storm of fire they had unleashed. They were not cheering. They were not celebrating. They were waiting. In colonies across the stars, broadcast carried the images. Civilians gathered in streets and stations staring at giant screens as the story spread. The reports were clear. The Council's greatest fleet was gone. Humanity had returned, and they had won. For many, the news brought only silence. The same silence now hanging in the Council chamber. The leaders who once laughed sat frozen. No voices rose in mockery. No hands slammed tables in arrogance. Their faces, scaled, feathered, and furred, were pale with fear. The old scholar stood among them, her eyes wet with memory. She had warned them. She had told them ghosts could return. Now the ghosts had come back as giants. On the flagship of the human armada, Admiral Kale stood on the command deck. His face was calm, but his eyes carried the weight of centuries. Around him, the crew watched their screens, showing the wreckage, the broken fleets, the silent void. One officer spoke. "Sir, the galaxy is listening." "Every channel is open." Kale gave a slow nod. His voice was not raised. It did not need to be. "Transmit." Across every planet, every station, every ship, the same message appeared. Not in one language, but in all. Not in shouts, but in a calm, steady tone. "We are humanity. We are not dead. We did not vanish. We endured. You mocked us. You buried us. You forgot us. But we remember. We remember everything. And now you will remember us too." The words carried weight heavier than weapons. Every listener, no matter their species, felt the truth behind them. Humanity had not returned for conquest. They had returned for respect, for recognition, for the promise that their name would never again be erased. The Council leaders trembled. Some bowed their heads in shame. Others whispered among themselves, wondering if this meant war would spread across the galaxy. But humanity's fleets did not advance. They did not invade. They simply stood, their lights burning like a new constellation in the night. On alien worlds, children asked their parents who the humans were. Elders told stories, once whispered, now spoken aloud with reverence. Soldiers who had mocked the idea of human return now lowered their weapons. Humbled by the truth, the galaxy had laughed at Earth. Now it bowed in silence. In the quiet after the battle, survivors drifted among wrecks, sending signals of surrender. Human ships did not fire on them. Instead, they offered rescue. To many, this act was more terrifying than the battle itself, for it showed that humans were not conquerors. They were something greater. The Admiral gave his final order. "We will not strike again unless we are forced. Let them decide what comes next." And so the human armada began to move. Slowly, silently, like a tide of shadows, they turned away from the battlefield. One by one, their engines flared and they slipped into hyperspace, vanishing into the dark. Only the wreckage remained behind, a graveyard of pride and arrogance. But their message lingered. In every council hall, in every corner of the galaxy, those 5 words were etched into memory. "We are here. Remember us." The scholar left the chamber and walked alone through the silent corridors of the council station. She whispered to herself, her voice trembling with awe. The laughter of yesterday has become the fear of today, and tomorrow it will be respect. She looked out through the station's great window at the stars beyond. For the first time in her long life, she felt something she had never felt before. Hope. Far across the galaxy, on hidden worlds and forgotten stations, The humans prepared. They were not finished. They had shown their armada not as a weapon of conquest, but as a promise that no one would ever again forget their place among the stars. The galaxy remained silent, not because it chose to be, but because there were no words left to say. And from that day forward, no empire, no council, no species ever dared to laugh at humanity again.